caught myself having entitlement over the viewing experience that I was having, like a perfect moment of my catching my own male gaze, which I feel significantly shameful about.
You caught yourself having entitlement over the viewing experience you're having. Did you just swallow a dictionary?
The next thing that came up for me was noticing how I was judging Cynthia's appearance. Shaved head, a lot of jewelry on her ears, septum piercing, and very intricately done fingernails. And again, noticing myself not finding myself immediately enjoying it, and like trying to find appreciation for the art there, but also then catching my own fucking racism.
Shaved head and 20 piercings is not a black thing. Like if you go to Columbia University and drop into the gender studies department and you see those white girls with the shaved head and 20 piercings, you're probably not going to get sexually aroused. Today I want to share with you a video that appeared in my feed, a viral clip that I found so enthralling because it's such a woke, liberal, neo-leftist car crash, and I have so much to say about it. So let's start by just watching the video together.
Last night during the Oscars, I had a moment of learning my misogyny and racism. As scary as this video is to make, I'm hoping that it helps some other guy out there wake up. Last night, the opening act was Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo performing Defying Gravity. Now, quick context, I haven't seen the movie, haven't seen the play. I don't actually know the full idea of the movie. I have the feeling I'm getting smacked right in the face with it. But for now, I'm just going to point out, I don't really know the movie at all. As I was watching, a few things were happening in my subconscious that became conscious as I was watching. One was that I found myself judging the looks of both of them. Judging their dresses, their jewelry, and their appearance. And I'd be lying if I say I wasn't influenced by posts I've seen on social media judging Ariana by her current look. There have been definitely moments where I've caught myself considering how I used to think about her, how she looked here, and how she looks today. And furthermore, as I was noticing that, brought up for me the Barbie monologue. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say that you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. Which is definitely where I'm catching myself putting women in a box. I caught myself having entitlement over the viewing experience that I was having, like a perfect moment of my catching my own male gaze, which I feel significantly shameful about. The next thing that came up for me was noticing how I was judging Cynthia's appearance. Shaved head, a lot of jewelry on her ears, septum piercing, and very intricately done fingernails. And again, noticing myself not finding myself immediately enjoying it, and like trying to find appreciation for the art there, but also then catching my own fucking racism in that this didn't feel beautiful to me. Which is exactly what fucking white supremacy is. Not being able to see other people as beautiful when they're not your own race. I've learned a lot about this from Rose Hackman. More recently, I don't actually know his name, Ebony Warrior Studios. I tried finding the video and couldn't find it. Recently, he was sharing about how there was 2 women of color that went into a bathroom where being accused of being trans, and how women with more masculine features, or at least non-white feminine features, are going to be significantly impacted from this. After listening to Defying Gravity again and talking about how together they can be unstoppable, and Cynthia talking about how she is defying gravity, and again, maybe this is the point of the movie just smacking me in the face without watching it. All those misogynistic thoughts that are going on in my head, that is patriarchy, that is white supremacy, that is gravity in this culture. And I'm hoping this video helps more men see this, and I'm hoping other men will see this and help the people that are weighed down by gravity defy it.
I don't know about you, but whenever I hear somebody begin with the words misogyny and racism, I'm like, yay, we're in for a ride. And on social media, whenever you talk about misogyny and racism, you tend to go viral. Well, you do if you're denouncing misogyny and racism, but when you're challenging the identity politics, the rhetoric about everything being misogynist and racist and transphobic and fascist and Nazi, when you challenge that narrative, you often get silenced, sometimes even shadow banned and deplatformed because we're not allowed to challenge it. We have to denounce it and be offended by it and fight it and unite to put an end to it. But that's not what I'm doing here today. So, first of all,
now, quick context, I haven't seen the movie, haven't seen the play. I don't actually know the full idea of the movie. I have the feeling I'm getting smacked right in the face with it. But for now, I'm just going to point out, I don't really know the movie at all.
Don't worry about not knowing too much about the movie. I know nothing of any of the movies that are in the Oscars. I pretty much dropped out of that whole Hollywood mainstream normie world like maybe 10, 20 years ago. So I may have seen a Hollywood movie maybe once every 5 to 10 years. I don't know any of the famous actors' names. I know all the old school ones, and I think a lot of them are still around because there's like about 20 actors that Hollywood parades around in all its movies. You know, there's not enough actors in the world, are there? There's like 20 of them that feature in all their movies. And I know the 20 from the 90s, the 80s, the 90s, but I don't know any of today's 20. I pretty much dropped out of that whole normie showbiz world decades ago. And it just doesn't hold any appeal to me, celebrity culture. So yeah, you don't need to apologize for not knowing one movie. I probably don't know the last 100 hit movies. And I'm that person who took 15 years to see the Titanic. And if you name any of the big hits of recent years, I haven't seen them. I haven't watched Stranger Things. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I haven't seen Frozen. I won't watch anything Disney. You know, I'm an adult. Why should I watch Disney? That's for little babies. But I'm digressing here. Don't apologize. It's fine.
As I was watching, a few things were happening in my subconscious that became conscious as I was watching. One was that I found myself judging the looks of both of them. Judging their dresses, their jewelry, and their appearance.
Oh no, you found yourself judging their looks. As if judging looks isn't like the core purpose of the Oscars, aside from handing out their silly awards. I mean, who watches the Oscars for anything other than judging looks? The Oscars is the one night when straight people have the right to be as judgmental as us gays. We're always judging looks, right? And you should see some of those catty reviews of all the Oscar looks that the gay influencers put out every year. And not just gay, everybody does it. In fact, the queen of judging looks at the Oscars was always Joan Rivers. That's why we love Joan Rivers. She was so cutting. She was like a really bitchy gay man trapped in a woman's body. And that's why she was so famous. But the Oscars, as I said, gives you straight people one night to be just as catty as us gays and just judge everybody. We, all of us gays and bis and lesbians, you know, we grew up being judged all through our childhood. So when we became adults, we grew into super judges, and it's part of our mission in life to judge everybody back. So, you know, that's where it comes from. But when you look at a man, but you don't know his sexuality, but you look in his eyes, you can tell if he's gay from looking in his eyes, how judgmental they look. Do you know what I mean? You know that glazed expression that gays have on their face, like permanently fixed to their face because they're constantly just judging everybody and everything? Just, you know, looking at everyone and everything with a sort of a sense of disdain. Those are our super judge powers that manifest in our gaze. And the Oscars is your night to indulge in that once a year. So just enjoy it.
And I'd be lying if I say I wasn't influenced by posts I've seen on social media judging Ariana by her current look. There have been definitely moments where I've caught myself considering how I used to think about her, how she looked here, and how she looks today.
I have to say, I'm looking at Ariana Grande, and I don't really see what you're talking about, this old Ariana and new Ariana, but I have to admit, I'm not really a fan of hers. Like, I'm not a fan of anybody's in this generation. All the artists that I love are from the 80s and the 90s, so I have nothing to say about today's artists. But I suppose Ariana, she's old school already now, isn't she? Yeah, that's how old I am. The ones that are like old school are like still new to me and I still don't know anything about them. So I can't really comment on her how she looked then and how she looks now because I don't see a difference. She's a beautiful girl, don't get me wrong. And the fact that you find her beautiful, that's fine. Just go with it. You know, you don't have to put on this lame pretense of guilt for objectifying her. That's why she's in the industry, for you to objectify. That's how she makes her money, being objectified. So just keep paying for her wealth with your gaze. That's what she's there for. She's a dolly bird.
I caught myself having entitlement over the viewing experience that I was having, like a perfect moment of my catching my own male gaze, which I feel significantly shameful about.
You caught yourself having entitlement over the viewing experience you're having. Did you just swallow a dictionary? What does that mean? You caught yourself having entitlement over the viewing experience you're having. You caught yourself owning the eyes that you looked through. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, the male gaze, that's what you're talking about. Like, the fuck is the male gaze? It's a gaze. You are a man, so it's a male gaze. If you're a woman, then it's a woman gaze. I get the woman gaze and the man gaze, all the gaze when I walk down the street. And if I'm honest with you, I'm very guilty myself of the male gaze, but not just any old male gaze. The male homo gaze. If I see a fine man coming towards me, I clock the face, then I turn around and I clock the booty. And I rate them both. We all do it. It's natural. And it's not a male thing, because women do it too. Trans people do it, everybody does it. Perhaps if you've got a woody, there's some kind of male physiological response happening there. But just go with it. Just listen to your body and don't feel guilty about it. There's nothing shameful about it. You know, that's how we procreated this human race for thousands of years.
Furthermore, as I was noticing that, brought up for me the Barbie monologue. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say that you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. Which is definitely where I'm catching myself putting women in a box.
Okay, I hear what you're saying about this sort of thin beauty standard of Hollywood. And yeah, it's a weird kind of situation that Hollywood is in, because it thrives on promoting this image in conjunction with Vogue magazine and all that stuff. And it makes a lot of money through it, but at the same time, there's a sense of guilt about it. So we've got people who consume it, like yourself. You know, you're sat there watching the Oscars, admiring the beautiful, thin people that you're seeing and feeling guilty about it. And it's almost like the opposite of what happens in Chinese culture, because we, you know, thinspiration is a huge thing in China, but there they don't have the guilt over it because they're behind in the world of wokery. Oh, they have no shame about their thinspiration industry in China. You know, have you seen that A4 paper thing where girls hold a sheet of A4 paper to their waist, and if you can't see, if your body doesn't overlap that A4 paper, then you're beautiful and thin. And it's celebrated, and something that girls, they go viral on social media if they pass the A4 paper test. And they've got leg lengthening operations there where it's a sign of wealth and status if you're rich enough to lengthen your short legs, and they go through so much agony. It's like torture. They put themselves in these torturous leg devices that slowly stretch their legs every night while they're asleep, and they end up with these super long, unnaturally long legs for our race. But that's Chinese inspiration. They take it to an extreme, and they make no bones about it. They're just in your face with it. And alongside that comes all the fat shaming. The Chinese are so good at fat shaming. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, they also embrace fat, because we have positive words for fat as well as negative. We call somebody fei doot doot. That means that you're so fat that you just want to like pinch their cheeks. Fei doot doot. You know, it's like the ultimate compliment if someone is fei doot doot. Fat, fei is fat, and doot doot is an onomatopoeia, a sound that we add to the fat to make it cute. Fei doot doot. Do you know what? I hurt myself just now pinching my cheeks because I just did it the way my aunties used to do it to me. They'd come over and they'd go, and then like they'd pinch me to death and like bust all my blood vessels in my face, and I'd be in pain afterwards, and my cheeks would be red for like a week. But yeah, that's the positive side of our fat culture. But there is a lot of fat shaming in Chinese culture. For example, when you're shopping, a woman can go into a shop and the shop assistant will be like, nothing for you to buy here, too fat. Go across the road to Mumu or next street, Love Calories, they have your size. Yeah, that is shopping in Asia. I think Love Calories and Mumu are actually in Thailand, but it's all the same thing. Oriental, we all do this.
The next thing that came up for me was noticing how I was judging Cynthia's appearance. Shaved head, a lot of jewelry on her ears, septum piercing, and very intricately done fingernails. And again, noticing myself, not finding myself immediately enjoying it, like trying to find appreciation for the art there, but also then catching my own fucking racism.
Okay, let's get this straight. Shaved head and 20 piercings is not a black thing. Like if you go to Columbia University and drop into the gender studies department and you see those white girls with the shaved head and 20 piercings, you're probably not gonna get sexually aroused. It's not a black thing. It's a shaved head and 20 piercings thing. Most black women do not have a shaved head and 20 piercings either. Maybe in certain tribes in Africa, but it's not something that you're probably all that accustomed to seeing in California or wherever you are. So you don't have to racialize it. And there is a tendency right now in woke culture to racialize everything, or genderize everything, or transgenderize everything, or whatever it is that your victimhood hinges around, or your obsession, because often you're not the victim, you're the ally, but you're obsessed with being their ally. So everything is blamed on whatever that characteristic is. And in this case, her race. No, it's not her race. It's the fact that she's bald and got 20 piercings. I don't think you would have been aroused by Sinead O'Connor either, who was also bald. Well, saying that, she was gorgeous too. So yeah, I mean, beauty is beauty. Whether you're bald and have 20 piercings or not, beauty is beauty. And Ariana Grande is someone that a lot of men think is beautiful. And Cynthia, whatever her name is, she is a certain kind of unique beauty that not everybody gets. But the fact that you don't get it, you don't have to feel guilty about it. It's just, she's not your cup of tea. And it's not a racial thing, because look at Iman, supermodel from the 80s and 90s, you know, David Bowie's wife. No one could look at her and not think that she's one of the most beautiful women on the earth. And her look is very typical of Somalians. Her look is really common if you go to Somalia. They have the most beautiful, refined features that are so sharp. So the fact that you're trying to find appreciation, I think that was your words, find the appreciation. To find appreciation is an academic thing. You know, you study and you learn about a culture to find appreciation for it. But you shouldn't have to go out of your way to find appreciation when you're watching the Oscars. Either you appreciate it or you don't. If you don't find yourself in a state of arousal over somebody, no amount of finding appreciation is gonna arouse you. It's an autonomic nervous system response that is subconscious. You can't even control it. So if you don't have the appreciation, you're not gonna find it. You can find appreciation for a culture, for her heritage, for her style, I suppose, her jewelry, you know, all these sort of superficial things that you see on display there. You can find appreciation for those things, but it's not something that you could do instantaneously on the spot, because that is, again, an autonomic nervous system response.
Also then catching my own fucking racism in that this didn't feel beautiful to me, which is exactly what fucking white supremacy is. Not being able to see other people as beautiful when they're not your own race.
Not finding something beautiful, I'm sorry, is not racism, and it's not white supremacy. There is an actual scientific phenomenon called own race bias, where people are almost hardwired to appreciate their own culture before others because you're so familiar with it. You were born looking into your mother's eyes, and you grew up with your siblings and your parents and your uncles and aunties we always can connect more with our own culture and our own race and see familiarity in our own likeness. And you are looking through a Jewish American gaze, and that is what you're familiar with. And that is arguably the beauty standard as well that you're talking about. It's a Hollywood beauty standard that is sort of imposed on all of us through the media machine, the movies, the chat shows, the magazines, and that's your culture. So it's your own beauty standards set by your culture. Own race bias is not white supremacy, because every race has own race bias. It's not a black or white thing. It's something that is purely objective, and it only becomes supremacy if you force it on other people. I suppose you've got an argument there, right? Because that's what Hollywood does, isn't it? Well, I mean, it tries to force it on other people, but so many people like myself and half the world right now have rejected it. Like half the world doesn't watch the Oscars anymore. So you're sat there watching it and feeling bad about it. Turn it off. It's as easy as that. That's what I did 20 years ago.
More recently, I don't actually know his name, Ebony Warrior Studios. I tried finding the video and couldn't find it. Recently, he was sharing about how there was 2 women of color that went into a bathroom where being accused of being trans, and how women with more masculine features, or at least non-white feminine features, are going to be significantly impacted from this.
Uh-oh. We've just entered the bathroom debate. Now, I'm not going to say too much about bathrooms and transgenderism and whether or not you pass. There's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to open here. But let's talk about what you've done there. Confounding feminine features and white features. I mean, are you saying that white features are considered more feminine? Because I'm sorry, I just don't see that. I mean, look at what we typically associate with some of the African races. Full lips, big eyes, small waist, long legs, butt like a shelf. Look at some of the famous black people who sort of represent idealized black features that are incredibly feminine. Like Naomi Campbell, she's Jamaican with a drop of Chinese. Or Lauryn Hill from Haiti. If you compare them to, I don't know, who's considered a beautiful white woman, Nicole Kidman, who's now plumping her lips. Do you know what I mean? We've got a whole culture of white women doing things to their faces and their bodies to emulate black feminine beauty. So let's not mix up black and white and masculinity and femininity, because it doesn't work.
All those misogynistic thoughts that are going on in my head, that is patriarchy, that is white supremacy, that is gravity in this culture. I'm hoping this video helps more men see this, and I'm hoping other men will see this and help the people that are weighed down by gravity defy it.
Listen, dude, you can call it misogyny, white supremacy, patriarchy, call it what you want, but what you're talking about there is Hollywood. You just sat through their night of self-congratulation, the Oscars, and I would argue that a lot of people have learned over the last year or two that there's a cesspit at its core, and we generally just see the surface, and it's a very glossy surface. And I think what you've done there is just kind of like scratch beneath the surface. And I don't want to totally rip it apart, because there have been so many glorious Hollywood movies that I've loved in my lifetime. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Surely there's more that I can think of. That's showing my age though, isn't it? The only film I could think of was from the fucking 80s. Yes. I can still enjoy Hollywood movies and just take them on a surface level for what they are, just mindless, frivolous fluff, pure entertainment. But yeah, this institution that is pushing all these things that you're against, you can just reject it. Stop watching the Oscars. Stop consuming their products. They feed off you. They thrive off your ticket sales and your engagement with their festivities. So just don't watch it. It's a load of rubbish. I say that, but although I don't watch the Oscars, if I'm flicking through my feed and I see some post where some gay is rinsing all their outfits, I'll stop and give it a view for pure, mindless drivel value. But yeah, I may have come across a bit harsh in this video. I don't mean to attack you personally. I know you come with good intentions. I know that in your heart you were saying what you felt was the moral thing to say, and you were calling out a lot of the stuff that many of us have been fed up with for years. But at the same time, I think you're exhibiting a very high level of guilt there that you just don't need to carry around with you. You're a Hollywood fanatic, just own it. That is what Hollywood is. There's no need to virtue signal to the degree that you were doing in that video. There's no need for you to repent either. But as far as no longer being racist or white supremacist, all you need to do is just work on being a good person, be a better person. Just be kind to people that you meet in your real day-to-day life. People from different walks of life who are different from you, who look different from you, who come from different backgrounds. Just show them kindness and understanding. That's all you have to do. It all boils down to human connection and respect. And no matter how much we talk about race and vilify people over it and punish them, what does that achieve when all you need to do is just embrace people? If everybody just embraced others instead of fighting over their identity, then there wouldn't be a problem anymore. It's as simple as that. And I think when people overdo it, this woke virtue signaling guilt complex that you have to like declare like an anthem, when you just put everything down to isms, it just gets tiresome for a lot of people. When people try and overcompensate because they have so much guilt inside them, I'm talking about these, what Malcolm X called white liberal saviors. When you try too hard to make up for that guilt that you feel over your perceived white supremacy, when you try too hard, it's just so cringy. It makes me think of that time that YouTuber was in his bedroom. He had some music on and he was rapping along with it and he said the N-word, and then he had this huge tantrum. He felt so guilty. He just broke down. He had a mental breakdown and he was like cussing himself and like punching things. And I was like, oh my God. You don't have to turn it into a big drama. Just don't say it if you have a problem saying it. And if you say it by accident, whoops, you didn't write the song, you're just rapping along with it. I mean, all the times I've been listening to one of my favorite albums of all time, Lil Kim's hardcore album from the 90s. I'll probably say the N-word 1,000 times within that hour. And I don't beat myself up over it because there's no intention behind me saying it. I'm just rapping along to Lil Kim and she drops the N-word every other sentence. So as I'm hoovering, I'll be like, I used to be scared of the dick. Now I throw lips to the shit, handle it like a real bitch. Head hunter, Janet Jack me, taking in the bud. Yes, yes, what? I got man in Switzerland. Even got sand at Maryland. Bahamas in the spring. Baby, it's a big mama thing. Can you tell by the diamonds in my rings? That's how many times I wanna come. 21, and another one, another one, and another one. 24 carats, Nick. Oh, you almost got me there, didn't you? You don't see me having a meltdown, do you? Well, I mean, I didn't say it. If I said it and I was in the middle of a live stream, I would have been like, damn, I'm gonna get demonetized now and I'm gonna get 1,000 hate comments and I might get cancelled. So that's why the dude had a meltdown and was like crying over it, wasn't it? It wasn't that he felt guilty about saying it because he was rapping along to some tune that somebody else wrote. When you put on a huge display of guilt and shame over your perceived white supremacy or your unconscious racism or what have you. When you overcompensate, it looks a bit forced, and you don't need to overcompensate. You really don't. But it does get a lot of views and likes, and I get it. We're all trying to make it in this biz, aren't we? So yeah, I hope this video gets some views, even though I'm challenging this, because some people call me a grifter because of the things I talk about, but no, I ain't grifting. I'm speaking from the heart, and I get punished for what I say, and my views suffer because I'm so real, because I'm not playing that game. So yeah, for all those people out there who call me, what is it that they always say to me? They call me a pick me, and then they say they're never gonna pick you. Well, what is it? Am I a pick me? Have they picked me? Or are they gonna pick me, or are they not gonna pick me? And why do I need picking? What am I? A nose? No, I'm a flower. That's what it is. And you think I'm just so beautiful and radiant like a flower, and that's why I need to be picked. So thank you. I really appreciate that. But I don't care if they pick me or not. Whether or not they pick me, I'm still a beautiful flower. Or a booger in the nose. I'm more of a booger, to be honest. Anyway, I hope some of you out there connected with what I said, and do please leave me your comments if you have any thoughts on any of this, and do please like this video as well. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do, because it really helps my performance as somebody, a struggling new YouTuber who's speaking against the grain and saying all the wrong things. So your support is everything, and for those of you who are supporting me, I appreciate it so much. And if you enjoyed this video, then do give this one a watch too. Thank you so much, and have a great day or night.